Hello, welcome. Today we are going to be doing the EMEA Kickoff Pickems. We've already done the America's Kickoff Pickems, and that has been going on for the last week now. And now the other regions are starting up tomorrow at 8 a.m. my time. So just in time to do these Pickems and show you guys how I'm feeling about the teams heading into this season. Alright, may as well get it started. First matchup we have is Navi versus Carmine Corp. For Navi, they have added Filu into the duelist role. He's coming over from Koi and Sociable from BBL. And Angel, the GOAT, is headed over to the head coach role. And I think Xiao is the one that's going to be picking up the IGL role. So something new for him there, and something new for Angel. I mean, Xiao's just a great player. He's going to be good at whatever he does, in my opinion. Angel, it'll be interesting to see what he can do at head coach. He's one of the best IGLs Valorant has seen, so he should be able to be at a high level even in that. So I'm pretty confident in him. And on the opposing side in Carmine Corp, they're picking up Levin from BBL. Shados from Koi, he's going to be IGLing. And then they're importing DOS9 from Boom, which is pretty damn cool. Shados and Ang, the head coach, used to be a part of the same team as on Gambit and M3C, the Masters 2 winning team, or Masters 3 that year, I guess. And they also went to the grand final of the first ever champs. This game is by far the hardest game of any of these first round matchups for me. I have coin flipped on it countless times, but I'm gonna go for Carmine Corp in this opening game. I think Eng might pull up some fancy stuff coming into this new year. He always does. I mean, just look back at that 2024. I think they ended up winning Kickoff. They ended up going to Madrid with that Narrate and Martine roster with Magnum as the IGL. They did some crazy stuff, so I'll back Eng and the Carmine Corp boys there. And that matchup is between two fresh IGLs, completely new to it, so that will be really interesting to see. Next up, we have got Footballers versus Gentlemates. Gentlemates are now a staple partnership team for this year, even though that's just getting obliterated next year anymore. Anyways, they took over the Koi spot, so they're no longer an Ascension team, and they have fully changed the roster. The only person staying is Mini, who was really good all of last year. He was clicking heads better than anyone in the server most of the time. Unfortunately, he was on one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They could not hold a lead for the life of them. So you'd hope with a whole new roster that maybe that would happen. In that new roster, speaking about it, they brought in Beepo as the new duelist from Mouse. You got Martine coming over from Carmine Corp. You'd expect him to play that like Yoru, Omen, a bit of that flex stuff. I hope we see him on a lot of the Yoru since that's still very prevalent in the meta right now. And he's excellent on it. You got Starzo coming in from Job Life in Tier 2. Obviously won champs with Ascend back in 2021. Who's going to be IGLing this team. I believe he had an attempt at IGLing on Koi, if I'm not mistaken, in 2023. I don't think that went too well. We'll see if there's a different outcome this time around. And then a new player into the Tier 1 scene in Glyph. I believe he would be the import slot. He's coming over from Winthrop. He bounced around a lot of Tier 2, climbing his way up through the ladder, even playing for Cloud9 Academy way back when. But yeah, that's rounding out their roster. In the coaching staff, so you got Paco coming up from the Carmine Corp Academy, and then you got Kundi. He was coaching Mao's, and then he coached 2 games for Focus when they qualified for Ascension. And then on the other side, you got Foot. Not as many changes. They brought back Geis as the head coach after letting him go randomly and then doing worse. And now he's back, so that makes more sense than what they did last year. Bambino and the assistant coach. He was assistant coach with Koi for basically all of franchising so far. And then 2 new rookies coming up. Baha, he's going to be playing the Smokes from Papara Supermassive. And then Cristali coming up from Fenerbahce. And then Ada Captain is going over to that sub slot. He will no longer be on the main team, as well as Krax, who's just inactive on their PLR page. I haven't quite seen an update on him as to what's going on, whether he's just in contract jail or what's up, but I'm gonna miss my KO goat. As for what I think will happen in this game, I think this is a pretty even matchup. I'm just a bit concerned with the IGLing and some of the inconsistencies I've seen from a couple of the players on Gen Weights, and just their history of choking, even though it's literally there's only one player that's still there. On the foot side, Zeus was quite poor at a lot of times last year when his peaks are high. So if foot are going to win, you need to see Zeus perform. Yeta J's still going to be as good as he always is. I'm going to lean foot here. I think that might be a close game, maybe a 2-1. But yeah, I'm going to go that way anyways. And then we got BBL versus BBL Academy, now Pacific Esports, after they ascended. Is BBL's roster is now just Pacific, and then Pacific is the misfits of Tier 2, it feels like almost. On Pacific you have CNED, played for Foot last year. Seven is finally in Tier 1. It's not in Americas, it's in Emea, but he has been grinding. He's the Tier 2 Odin God. Was in TSM, made it to the grand final of Ascension last year. We got two players coming up from Team Liquid Academy in Ninja and Cupert. Cupert's going to be the IGL of this team, playing the Smokes. You might recognize him from in Sliggy's chat, or he was all over C9. He was their assistant coach or analyst in 2023. And then you got Alarante coming from Focus as the Senti, and then Leader, who was the head coach of G2 Gozen from 24 to 25, and then for stage 2 of last year, he was just Loud as their head coach. And then PBL is just the entire BBL Pacific from last year's team, except they added Viento as assistant coach, who was the head coach for Galatasaray. They finished 4th in Turkey, so maybe that adds some stuff into their game plans. But other than that, I think BBL are still going to be a very solid team. They already looked like they were ready to compete in Tier 1 last year. They are incredibly skilled, and I'm just glad all of these players are of age to play, which is it's going to be really exciting. So I'm going to go BBL here. This would be, if any game would be an upset, this is one I want to be, because just imagine BBL take all of Pacific's players, and then Pacific beats them with a new roster anyways. That would be insane. Anyways, then another Ascension team in Ulf Esports against Vitality. Ulf, the only changes they made of choice were the head coach, who is actually their old head coach from the start of last year, and they're bringing in, who is Agron Fire, and then they're bringing in an assistant coach from Fireflux, who was their coach 2 years ago. He took all of last year off. I don't know what's up with that, but that's L7. And then their Star Duelist and Star Senti, Echo and Sop, are not 18 yet. They're going to be waiting until March and February, respectively, for the two of them. So for the time being, they have Demur coming in as Duelist, who played Blender with Bonk, but other than that, he kind of just bounced around a crap ton of Tier 2 teams, so I couldn't quite get a grip of if he was ever with the team for longer than that, but he was like playing a couple of games here, a couple of games there with everybody. And then you got Stern, who played for Istanbul at the first half of last year, and then played with Misa Esports towards the later end. And for some people that might not know their roster, the other players are Fabian, their IGL is Neki, and then their Smokes is Odds, or Oddaz. Don't know how to pronounce, my apologies. And then for Vitality, you still got Durka. Unfake is going to be subbing in for the time being, who was with them last year, until Sayonara, who was with their academy, who didn't really play any games, is going to be turning 18 in March. So they're going to have to play all of Kickoff without them. I'm not quite sure when Stage 1 starts, but he should be in right around then. And then the pickup of the off-season, they managed to get Chronicle out of Fnatic, coming to join Durka. That's just an insane move. This team is dangerous. And then you're bringing over two players from BBL in Yampi, who's going to be the IGL, and Chronicle, as well as the head coach Pal, and then assistant coach Scott is coming over from Fnatic. Overall, that is going to be a scary team, especially when Sayonara becomes of age. But even with Unfake, this team ain't too bad. I mean, Yampi, I really liked the IGLing last year. I'm just a Yampi lover. He's amazing. Profek was great with BBL last year. Durka's Durka, and Kron is Kron. For this game, even with the sub, I think they've had plenty of time knowing that they're going to be playing without Sayonara. I think they should be fine here. I'm going to be going Vitality. Definitely not too much of a shock, but yeah, I think that should be pretty handedly their game. Then we got Heretics versus Carmine Corp. Heretics, only the one change. Boo has lost his brother, Mini Boo, left over towards Team Liquid, and he is being replaced by Comeback, who used to be with the BBO Pacific Core until before Stage 2 last year. He got picked up by Mates, and then went on that 0-5 absolute tear with them, where they didn't win a game and they choked a lot. He didn't look too great, but everybody's been hyping him up for like a year and a half now. So there's definitely that potential there. And I think in this matchup, they still have Wu, they have Riens, who can easily be one of the best players in the world on his day. Boo, Neil Weber still there. They'll be fine here. I just can't. You'd hope this wouldn't go any other way. They've had plenty of time to get this working well. So yeah, I think they should be fine there. And then we got Giant X, who was the surprise team of last year in EMEA, making it to champs against Foot. And Giant X, after their big surprise, didn't make a single change. So he still got Aura, Flickless, Cloud, Grubby, Westside, Pipson, and Waylander. Great roster, solid core. They did really good at champs, did great in Stage 2. With how young this team is and the potential of some of these players, I think it's just going to be going up and up every single year, every single stage. So I think they're only getting better, and I'm going to be predicting them to beat Foot here. And then we got Fnatic BBL. Obviously, Fnatic lost Chronicle to Vitality in the offseason. That was the only change other than the assistant coach. They ended up picking Vecaj, who played Stage 2 with Gentlemates. Obviously, not the best performance there, but in the offseason, he looked like he came into his role in Fnatic, was playing really well. You saw some standout performances from him. He was playing a bit of everything, almost filling in what Kron used to do, but it looks like he's mainly going to be playing a lot of Viper, with how this meta currently is with the double controllers everywhere. You might see him flex onto that secondary duelist occasionally, depending on what they're wanting to do with Alpha. I don't know if they're going to be getting him to do that. I'd be very hyped for that, but he can play almost anything, it feels like. I think he's playing quite a bit of Initiator with Gentlemates over that Stage 2, so should be interesting to see. And then they bring in Desmo as an assistant coach. He was the head coach of Leviathan in Stage 2, and previously he was with Apex as their assistant coach back in 23-24, so pre-franchising. But I will be going for Fnatic here. I think definitely a downgrade going from Kron to Vecaj, but I think it's still just better than the BBL old BBL Pacific roster. They should be fine to get through there. Team Liquid versus Vitality. Team Liquid is a big change up. Obviously losing Kiko and then choosing not to return to Trex and Patatek. Kiko going over to NRG, who looked incredible in their first game against Cloud9 over this past week in Americas. They are picking up Miniboo from Heretics, who will be playing the Duelist. Purpo, who played for GX and then Job Life last year. And then Wayne. The one question mark that I've seen around is about Wayne's visa. Also, I believe he should be having a pretty strong passport from where he's from. I've been seeing things about how he still wasn't in Berlin a couple days ago, and that they're scrimming with Kicks. So obviously it might make quite a big difference if he's not going to be in their roster and they won't have their full team. I'm yet to know on whether that's the case, but either way, he was playing with Motive last year. They lost to Nongshim in the lower round 2 of the Ascension, so they're just 2 games away from qualifying to Tier 1. And then he's also with Disguised Toast team the year prior. And then obviously Kicks, who might be subbing, he was with Vitality. Yet to know if that's going to actually be the case, but I guess we'll have to wait and see a couple days. As for who I think is going to win this game, I think even with the sub just a pure firepower on this Vitality team, I think it should just be good enough to get them across the line, personally. Going up to upper round 3, Heretics versus Giant X. Only one change between the two teams. I think Heretics will be fine enough to make it. I think they are going to be strong starters with how they only change one player, and they've known about this since pretty much right after Champs. Miniboo left. I know Giant X have had more time considering it's just the same exact team, but I think Heretics just have the better players and better team overall. More confident in their coaching staff as well coming into the new meta. So yeah, I'll be going that way. And I'm excited to see a double duelist meta for Team Heretics because Woot better be playing some duelist. I am so hyped for that. And then we go into Fnatic Vitality. You got Durka and Kron versus Boaster and Alpha. This is going to be an absolute banger. Obviously, Fnatic went to 3 grand finals last year, 2 VCT ones. Falling short in all 3 of them, unfortunately. I think I am going to pick them here, though, to pass Vitality. I think they might just be the better team to start the year, considering that they're that sub for Vitality. So yeah, I'll have them to beat them in Kickoff at this stage. And then in the upper final, not a grand final, so Heretics have a chance, remember this. But yeah, Heretics versus Fnatic. I'm not going to give them a chance here. I think Fnatic will be the first to qualify to go to Santiago in this one. I think it's going to be a good match. It should go 5 maps. I really hope it would. But yeah, they got Boaster. He's a great caller. Crashies, who looked really good last year. As long as Vecaj is performing like how we saw him in the offseason, they should be at a really good level. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. This whole upper bracket, I'd be looking forward to most of these games. Like, truthfully, this should be a really good season for Emea, I think. Maybe they get their first win since Fnatic back in 2023. Who knows? We'll see. And then coming down to the middle round 1, we got Na'Vi versus Team Liquid. Again, with the unknowns with Liquid, I'm not really going to take that into account too much. Let's just hope Wayne's there. But either way, I am going to be going with Na'Vi, mainly because of Ruxic and Hero. Those two towards the end of last year, and just honestly throughout all of last year, looked incredible. So if they can get any sort of performance out of Sociable, who looked really great at the start of last year, Filu, who has a bit of potential, but we didn't quite see the full peak of him with Koi last year, and then Xiao, who, again, wasn't great last year, but we know what he can get to. We saw it back in 2022. We see her flashes every now and again. Let's just hope he's going to be on his role, doing his own thing, and shooting his gun well, like he can. So yeah, I'll go Na'Vi there. And then we got Mates versus BBL. Obviously, full new team for Mates. Starzo's IGL versus a team that knows each other very well in BBL. I'm going to go with BBL. I think they'll just be a more structured team. They've had so much time together. And that firepower. They have the Turkish aim. I'll give them the edge there. Then coming down to Pacific versus Foot. We got the Misfits against a pretty similar Foot team. I'm quite excited for this new Foot roster. They added some new youngsters into the mix. Remove some of the older players from their team. I'm quite excited for that. I do think Pacific will definitely be the upset team. Nobody's really expecting much from them this event, so if they can get one win, that would be great, but I don't think it will be this game, unfortunately. And then in Carmine Corp versus Ulf, obviously with the 2 changes that Ulf had to make because they had to pick up 2 new players because of the 18 rule. That's really unfortunate for them. And then Carmine Corp, I'm quite high up on this team. I think they'll do quite good towards the start of this year, so I will pick them there. Now we're moving up to middle round 2. Na'Vi versus BBL. I will be going with Na'Vi here. Again, like I said before, I think the firepower is just on a different level with Ruxic and Hero. I think the Turkish aimers on this team are just a bit better than the Turkish aimers on BBL. So yeah, that's what I'm going with there. And then we got Foot versus KC. I think I'll give this one to KC. I don't think that will be too close of a game. I think KC got some structure. The one concern was Eng's coaching ways that we have seen sometimes later into stage of their tournaments is he has a great playbook at the start, but once teams get to see that for the first time, it starts to not be as great. But this being only 4 games in, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, you'd hope. Having a whole offseason to prepare, you should be able to put up enough stuff to get this many games in. After that, it might get a bit scary, but we'll see. We're going up to Na'Vi Giant X. I'm going to be going with Na'Vi on this one. I think they're just going to be getting on a little bit of a heater. Obviously, I won't know until I actually see these teams play how good they're going to be. We know what Giant X looked like at Champs and Stage 2 last year, which was great. But I just have a gut feeling that this Na'Vi team is going to be doing really good at the start here. So I'll go with them there. And then Vitality KC. I'm just going to go with the safe and reliable Chronicle and Durka. Vitality were really good at the start of last year. Obviously, they only have one player returning from the start of their last year team, which is probably a good thing considering how that team ended, but let's see if they can do that again. I think that will be a fun team to watch. And then Na'Vi Vitality. This should be a really good game. It's definitely going to have a lot of aim duels. These guys are just going to be ripping heads off left, right, and center. I don't quite know who the favorite would be here, honestly. In my head, it would be Vitality, just because of the fact that they have Kron, Durka, and Yampi. Like, almost that pseudo-super team. But I think I might be going Na'Vi here. I think I'm going to be having them going on a bit of a run. I don't know if that means they qualify, but I think I'll pick them over Vitality here. Maybe a bit of an upset. And then we got a BO5 Heretics versus Na'Vi. Are Heretics going to lose another BO5? Oh god, you'd hope not. I think their team is just good enough to be able to qualify here. I mean, the core 4 of this team is still ridiculously good. I think they should be enough to power through a team like Na'Vi. I do expect that to be a good game. Maybe not as close as the Fnatic Heretic game up here. But yeah, I'll go with Heretics there. I feel quite good about this one. We got Team Liquid versus Gentlemates in the first elimination game. I will take Gentlemates here, or Team Liquid, sorry. I think with Nats, you'll expect them to at least get a game out of this roster. Even though I'm not too confident in this roster, I've been seeing people putting them quite a bit higher up in their tier lists and rankings, but I just can't quite get behind it, honestly. Wayne, if he's there, he has a good peak. I don't know how he will be in tier 1. Purpo had never quite fit into the tier 1 scene. Has always had those things going around about him, about being that Scrim Demon that everybody's heard about. We have never seen that get converted to officials. And then you've got Miniboo, who is a great player. He's the one really good pickup that I liked. And then you got Camo as the only remaining part, who wasn't my favorite part of their last year team. But yeah, I think Nats and Lohan will be able to get them across the line there. Just think they should be a bit more put together than the Gentlemates team. So yeah, we'll go with that there. And then we got the Ascension face-off. Kind of. Because this isn't really the Ascension team anymore. Pacific versus Ulf. I'm going to be going with Pacific. I just think Keeper might have one game in him. Should be able to sneak one win out of this. And Ulf having the 2 replacements for their underage players. Quite unfortunate, but I don't think they'll be able to get a win here. Maybe they get a few more wins in like Stage 1 and Stage 2 and they get their roster together, but I don't expect them to have too good of a year, unfortunately. Never good to see Ascension teams just get rolled as soon as they get into the partnership, but yeah, we'll go with that there. Team Liquid versus Foot. This could be a close game in my eyes. Phew. I'm not high up on either of these teams, truthfully. I think I will give it to Liquid here. They do have that firepower to an extent, if Purpose clicking, but we'll have to wait and see. But Mini Boo Nats, Camo on his day, they're good enough to get past the Foot team, I think. And then again, we have Pacific versus BBL. I think I'll be taking BBL here again. It just shouldn't happen. If BBL lose to Pacific, that's an embarrassment, honestly. That would be crazy. It would be so funny though. I'd love to see it. I almost want to predict it just because. Nah, I can't. Yeah, we'll stick with BBL. Liquid Giant X, are they the dark horse? They are in one sense, but not here for me. I'm gonna go Giant X. They've just been together longer. This Liquid roster scares me, not in a good way, like not intimidating. They morged, so just I don't think they're gonna do good. They had something good last year, making every international. I think they might be fortunate to make one this year with the level of competition they have. We're going into BBL versus Carmine Corp. Oh man, that should be a good game. Is the Aang playbook dry? And is Turkish aim too much? I think so. I think I'll take BBL there. Yeah, BBL to beat Carmine Corp. I'll take that one. Two huge fan bases. The watch parties for that would be insane. Giant X versus BBL. I'll give it to Giant X just because of the way they ended last year. I think if they can get anywhere near that, they should be at a good enough level to take down BBL. They have some serious aimers of their own. None of them Turkish, I don't believe. Yeah. But you got the Polish aimers, the Romanian aimers. So yeah, I think they should be good there. Giant X versus Vitality. I think I'll give this one to Giant X. I don't know if that's an upset to many, but I like that pick there. I think this should be a good game. I think it will just be a bit of a firepower versus a bit more team play game. So yeah, I'll give that one to Giant X. I like that pick. And then we got our lower final, the last team to qualify to Santiago. And I will be going with Angel to make his first LAN as a coach. Ruxic is insane. Hero's great. Xiao, if he can find his form, should be amazing. The question marks are, of course, going to be Filu and Sociable, and maybe a bit if Angel can do his job as coach. I think he should be able to. But my big one is Filu. They've had their problems with duelists over the last year. It was Koala, who struggled with some. Now doing great with Furia, by the way. And then Alexic. You really hope Filu hits for them. Obviously wasn't great with Koi last year, but if he can just be a solid player, that's exactly what they need for this roster. Because everything else looks great. So yeah, that's going to be my Pickems. I have Fnatic, Heretics, and Na'Vi qualifying, and Giant X falling just short. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll be doing my Pacific and China Pickems in just a few days, so look out for those. Those will be dropping right before those games start. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you later. Bye.